welcome. This is episode 1, Elevated podcast with me, DJFM, and
XplicitXpert.
let's get started. So, this podcast is going to be something new that me and X have been talking about for a minute. I can't remember how far back we've actually been talking about it. It's probably been a few months, to be honest.
At least a few months.
Yeah, at least. We kind of wanted to do something a little bit different than, other streams have been doing. And we thought doing a podcast would be the best thing to do.
To give you guys a little bit more information about it, so we're going to do this probably once a week on Saturdays. We plan on the cast itself being somewhere around a half hour, maybe a little bit shorter, a little bit longer on some weeks. We will be broadcasting it live on Twitch, and then we will upload it probably to YouTube and possibly a couple other mediums. So if it's something that you enjoy, let us know. If there's something in particular you would like to see us discuss, let us know. But for tonight, DJ, how do you want to get started?
I think we should get started, a little bit about ourselves and how we kind of got into streaming. So what brings you back to like that first memory of, hey, I want to start streaming? What got you into it?
Before I answer that, I see that Average Gamer is saying that he's having a little bit of difficulty hearing me on your stream. If anybody can confirm, Framley, can you hear DJ okay on my side?
I actually went ahead and turned you up already. You were low.
So what got me started on streaming? A couple of years back, I was drinking one night with a couple of friends, and I don't even remember exactly what sparked an idea between Framley and I, but the idea for a esports bar and grill came up. And so I won't get too much into that venture, but as we were kicking around ideas for it, a big piece of it focused around on streaming esports and streamers. And then that got me thinking about the fact that that's something that I should probably be doing myself. I really enjoy gaming. I enjoy entertaining people. And so streaming made sense. If I enjoy doing these things, why not share that with everybody else? And
exactly.
If somebody else finds enjoyment in it, then fantastic.
So there was actually no actual person that you saw streaming that caught your attention?
No, not at all.
That's actually a really good idea. Bar and grill, a gaming esports bar and grill. That would be a place that I'd want to go to.
Yeah, it's still something that I would enjoy seeing through at some point in time. Not now, of course, because all the bars and grills are closed.
Curbside.
Yeah, curbside.
So, with that idea that you had, what kind of stopped you from going in that particular direction?
Money. So yeah, the only thing. I actually got through the majority of the business plan for it. Came up with everything between size, structure, what the layout would look like, what pay would look like, how many employees. Came up with a couple of different ideas. On the financial pieces, depending on how big of a building we could secure, started talking with a couple of investors, but for the most part, people who have money don't really understand the idea of esports. It's still relatively a new concept. So a lot of the conversations I had centered around just trying to explain to people that it would be like a traditional sports bar. So they couldn't wrap their heads around the idea that you would go into this establishment and not play video games. It's like, well, you don't go to a sports bar and play football, like.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yep. But in time, I think it's something I'll revisit again.
Wow.
So what about you? What got you into streaming?
It's funny, man. Probably like, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago. I was playing a game, man. This was like on my old rig. It was crap. Actually, I still have it. That's the one I used to dual stream with. It's just sitting in the back now, but I was playing this game called Out of Reach. and it's like a sandbox survival game, kind of based in like medieval times with pirates and swords and arrows and all that good stuff. And I ended up meeting this dude. His name was if I remember right, I'm in your base. I think that's his name. Yeah,
Nice.
he had a pretty cool name. So he ended up coming to my, the hell was it called? They called it was it a guild or a clan? I brought him in, I brought him in, and he seemed like a cool dude, and I ended up giving him some sort of mission to go gather some materials or something for our fort that we were building. And he was like, "Oh, dude, you're a really nice guy." He's like, "You usually don't find a lot of these people playing in survival games." Because I think he came, yeah, he came from like games like Rust and all those really toxic games. And I mean, I didn't know any better, so I was just being myself. And he told me that he streamed, and at that time I didn't know what that meant. Like, what do you mean you stream? Like, is this like your business or something? And he kind of explained what streaming was to me, and then we both ended up teaming up and making content for himself. So we would go around other forts and stuff, like taxing people, which was pretty fun, and it was great content for him. Like, we'd knock on people's door, "Oh, we're here to collect taxes" or whatever. If people said no, we'd fuck their shit up. Like, we just had a good time. And
nice, love it.
And it caught my attention. I'm like, man, what this guy's doing sounds like fun, like just creating content and having a good time. And obviously, trying to generate an income from that. And I'm like, man, I want to do that. I want to be like this guy. And that's kind of what sparked my dream to, stream for a living and create content and whatnot. That's kind of how it all started for me.
That's awesome, man. So, meeting somebody who inspires you, like, it's so random. You never know when it's going to happen. You never know what the actual event's going to be. But when somebody does that for you, that person's going to stick with you for a long, long time. When was the last time you talked to this person?
Well, that's the funny thing. The funny thing that you bring that up, because I never followed this guy, and I don't keep up with him. Like, he pops up every now and then on my Steam that he's playing this X game or whatever, but I never kept up with him. I just met him, I played with him a few times, actually a few days, but I never actually followed him, which I probably should have. I kind of feel like an ass now.
You didn't know back then.
I didn't. I really didn't. But that's the person that I pretty much got my whole inspiration from.
That's fucking awesome, man.
And he doesn't even know I exist. Which is the bad part. But hey, it is what it is, man. We move on.
Yep. For sure. So that game that you were playing, when was the last time you played it?
Oh man, it's probably been like a year.
Yeah.
Ever since, well, I went away from it once I got into PUBG, which was my first shooter game, and I haven't gone back. So it's probably been a little over a year. I don't know if I've been playing PUBG for a year. It's been out for what, like 2 years?
PUBG's been out for almost 3 now.
Oh wow. Well, I didn't start playing it during like beta and stuff because I didn't know about it. My first VR was H1Z1, which was called King of the Kill at that time.
I think so.
Yeah, that was my first VR, and I had a shit computer, so I didn't really have any great games, but I still enjoyed it.
And what games are you primarily playing now?
Right now, I mean, I would love to go back to PUBG, but so many issues and with cheaters and whatnot. But right now, I'm kind of maining Apex. What about yourself?
Nice. So originally, when I first started streaming, I was streaming League of Legends and Counter-Strike, CS:GO. CS:GO was probably I think it was the first FPS competitive shooter I played on PC, and I was fucking terrible at it. So between streaming to an audience of 0 or and then failing at this game, it was a little discouraging. But I had been playing League of Legends for a for a long time at that point, and I've been playing even longer now. But I don't stream League of Legends ever. I play it on my days off, and for the most part, I stream Battle Royale. So I started streaming PUBG pretty heavily whenever I came back and started actually consistently streaming, which has been a little over a year now.
Yep.
And just like yourself, recently started taking a break from PUBG. Played it off and on for I think like 2.5 years, coming up on 3 years. And yeah, cheaters. Content's great, but realistically, it's the cheaters. They get to you when you try and play something pretty competitively. It can start to make you feel a bit burnt out.
Oh yeah, for sure. I agree. I mean, that's the game itself. I mean, there's really not much wrong with it. I mean, every game's gonna have their bugs, but when it comes down to people cheating, I think that's what frustrates me the most. Like, I'll be okay if I die to like desync or something, you know. But when it comes to dying to like a cheater, that's what gets to me. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, I think in PUBG, cheaters are not that they're more prominent. I know that every game has issues with cheaters, but in PUBG, when you come across a cheater, it's more noticeable. The games are longer, they can get slow, or they can start off slow and then just have, you know, a lot of chaoticness. So when you've been playing a match for 20 or 30 minutes and you're ready to go into, you know, whether it be the top 10 or top 15, and then somebody snipes you from, you know, some angle that shouldn't be possible or something along those lines, or you have a flying UAV that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's pretty discouraging.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty aggravating.
I like that you're like me and we try not to bitch or gripe about games too often. And when we reach a point where we're feeling burnt out, we switch and we start playing something else. And both of us know that eventually we're going to be right back to where we started and hopefully in a slightly better environment.
Exactly.
In the meantime, I can't help but have a couple of streams up on the side, and I constantly am checking to see if we get a key for Valorant.
Oh man, I actually pulled mine down. I'm done, dude. Actually, no, I lied. I lied. It's minimized. It's minimized.
There you go.
But still, I mean, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, you know, okay, whatever. It wasn't meant to be. I'll just wait, 6 months or so?
I have no idea. They actually haven't communicated how long it's going to be, or I haven't seen that they've communicated how long it'll be before it's out of beta. But given the quality that I've seen so far on streams and the overall like very positive feedback, I would say that it should be out relatively soon. And if it's not out of beta, then I'm sure they'll continue ramping up the number of people that they give access to. I'm sure it won't even remain in a closed beta for very long.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. The only reason
6 months
wasn't the only reason they're only releasing a few keys at a time because they don't want to cause chaos with their servers.
True, which is smart because it sucks when you have a quality game and then the overall response from everybody is that they want to play it, and then you start having server issues. So
yeah,
personally, I like the way they're going. I just wish that we had keys already.
Just wish it was us, right?
Right. Did you hear that they banned their first cheater already?
I remember reading something somewhere, just like a slight, maybe 2-3 sentences, but I didn't really get too much into it because I didn't have a key, so it doesn't really matter.
I watched a brief interview with one of the developers, and he was saying that they were super upset that they had already ran into their first cheater, but that it was handled pretty swiftly.
That's crazy, man.
Sucks.
Like, I just don't understand why people would want to do that.
It makes no sense, man.
It really doesn't.
I don't even like. How do you manage to come up with cheats or hacks for a game just days after it's released in beta?
I don't know, man. You got to be pretty freaking smart for that.
Yeah.
I know I could never do something like that.
I would never want to do something like that. Speaking of which, what do you think is some of the driving factors behind people deciding to go out and look into hacks? Why do you think people cheat?
It's a really good question, man. I've thought about that. Like, if I wanted to cheat, why would I cheat? I feel like I would cheat just to be able to compete with the other cheaters. Just for that reason, like I have no other reason to cheat because it takes the fun out of it, you know.
Yep. So Smash Lana said that small balls, bro. That's why people cheat. And, you know, I gotta say that I agree.
I'm not gonna disagree with that. Talked about us says, I'm sorry, but y'all sound like children when you guys said cheaters.
Dude, calling them hackers is over glorifying them. The
That is
typical
true.
person that you run into in any game that is, you know, quote unquote hacking, they're not fucking hacking. They're not intelligent enough to do
Yeah.
this shit. They went out and they spent $30 or however much to pay for these cheats for whatever reason. Personally, I do agree that it's probably small balls though. Like, you know, they don't have the courage or you know, the confidence to go out there and get their asses kicked over and over and over again, like the majorities have to do before we start getting good at a game. PUBG was a good example. I was the person I despise now. I remember hiding in bathrooms with a fucking shotgun and just like being so nervous that somebody was going to come in and kill me.
Yeah.
And you know what? They would still come in and kill me.
Yep.
And eventually you learn from it and you get better.
It's until you build that confidence of that you feel comfortable pushing people, you know, and obviously build that muscle memory, which is key in PUBG.
It really is.
It's key, dude. There's nothing else that's going to make you better but muscle memory. Just because of the whole recoil. I mean, it's really hard to control any weapon in that game compared to like other FPS shooters. You know what's funny? PUBG was the game that actually brought us together. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember.
Terrible tournament.
So I actually didn't participate in the terrible tournament, but I heard about it and I watched it. And even though for you it may have felt terrible, running across somebody else who A, was competitive in nature, and B, didn't carry the ego that is typically found amongst those people was huge. So hearing somebody, you know, be able to say that the tournament they were hosting, that they didn't like the way it went, but you know, they were still all for it. Like that's, yeah, I remember. I don't remember how many months ago now, but I know it's close to a year.
I think so. I want to say it has been over a year.
I'm pretty sure, man. I'm pretty sure we've been following each other's streams for over a year, so it's been a minute.
Yeah, it really has. So, what was the first game that you ever streamed?
The very first game I streamed was actually League of Legends, and if I remember, well, it was the first game I streamed, and it was also during the time that I first started streaming, when I played in a big, massive tournament for League of Legends with a $10,000 prize pool, and ended up making it into like the semifinals, I think. And I was playing with the full team of randos. It was an awesome platform. I have no idea why the platform died off, but yeah. So me and this group of 4 other people, we played on a Sunday afternoon. I think we played in like 6 matches, and we lost our 6th match primarily because people started to suffer from fatigue. I have been gaming for a long fucking time and don't typically suffer from fatigue, but 2 of the other dudes definitely did, and so they started making some bad calls and fell behind. But we still ended up walking away. I think I won like $200 that day, and I was like, holy shit, does this make me a semi-professional gamer? It was awesome.
It can.
What's up, Ice Wolf? So I know that we got our introduction when you were hosting some tournaments. Have you had any experience since then, whether it be hosting tournaments or running in any tournaments?
No, man, that was the funny thing. That's probably why it went so bad, because I've never hosted one before, and we were just kind of winging it, and I was mainly trying to do everything by myself. So it just created this shit show of just the biggest issue we had was time. There's just so much dead time in between that people were, you know, losing interest in finishing the tournament. But, you know, we kept pushing through, and somehow we got to the end and finished the tournament. But I don't think I'd ever do one ever again. It's too much work, man. It's very stressful just to keep a tournament going, and especially if you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it is. I haven't hosted a tournament yet, but I look forward to the day that you and I host one together. Uh, so with that, we've covered a lot of stuff today. Do you have
We
some
have,
ideas on what some topics that we might discuss in the future are?
like I said, I've been wanting to, or I said this before to you, but I've been wanting to bring on like small artists, upcoming artists. There's a few around my area that I've been wanting to interview, and I think it'd be great to have him here in the podcast. You know, help them grow, give us some content, and I think it'd be a really good direction for at least this podcast and myself, and you included, X.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Icewolf, thank you so much for gifting out those subs, buddy. I really appreciate it. Talking about bringing on smaller artists, so or just artists in general, I music is one of the driving forces behind like everything I do. When
Yeah,
we're gaming, I like finding music that's gonna accompany the games. When we're making additional content outside of it, always looking for that right song that's gonna help fuel a highlight reel or something along those lines. Then
exactly.
outside of a stream, whether it's writing music or dabbling in producing music, I would say going to live shows, but right now, like that's probably one of the most disappointing things is that so many shows and festivals have been canceled right now. But anyway, so music is a big piece of everything that I do, and
Yeah,
I love the idea of bringing on and interviewing some people, whether they be local artists or maybe some artists in the community from the Twitch. And given the fact that so many people are bridging, using Twitch as a bridge to keep their music going, I think that that's an awesome idea.
yeah.
If there's anybody who's in here now that would be interested in joining us for something like that, feel free to reach out and let us know.
I don't understand why there isn't a lot more like artists that go in that direction. It's something new, and like Twitch is huge. You know, it's a big opportunity for people to expose themselves to different communities, like outside of your regular Twitter and your socials and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I asked interviewing for what? So when we say interviewing for it, I actually mean so like us having the opportunity to interview different artists and bring them on, just get to know them a little bit better, give them another outlet to promote on, and maybe some people will find somebody new to connect with.
Yep.
Friendly, that's a good call. Thank you very much for pointing that out. So she said that for in the future during the podcast, we should consider either turning down or muting notifications so they're not interrupting our vibrant conversation.
That's funny because I just remembered what your notification is.
Yeah. And Icewolf
I didn't hear it.
That happened to me also. I think by that happened to you also, you mean that you were the cause of that when you donated the multiple subs out to everybody.
Oh wow, yeah, I do see that 5 gifted subs. That's funny.
It's a fantastic reason to be interrupted.
Yeah, it's worth it. We'll
Yeah.
accept it for now.
Cool. So actually, I have one more question I'd like to ask you before we move on with the rest of our stream.
Let's hear it.
So we've been talking a lot about like getting things prepped for wanting to start a podcast and for wanting to do something a little bit different. What was some of the driving factors behind you wanting to do something other than just hopping on and streaming some gameplay?
It was mainly just to help us grow. I mean, if you jump into any small streamers channel, it's always the same. They're streaming games, they're not really engaging with their chat or the community, and I just feel like that's not the best way to grow. So starting this podcast, it just brings a whole different level to streaming on Twitch in general. And I also wanted, like, personally, I wanted to try something different. I've never really done something like this. I feel like it's something that'll help me grow personally. I've never been really great at like talking in front of people and stuff in big groups, even though I do DJ weddings, which it just blows my mind that I feel super comfortable doing that. I can't always say I was comfortable at the beginning though, because it was very nerve wracking, you know, standing in front of 100+ people, trying not to f up this couple's wedding, you know, because you can only do it once. So I just wanted to get out of my comfort zone and do something a little different.
I mean, that makes sense, man. So for me, one of the things that's always stuck out to me is a long time ago, I remember reading an interview. I don't even remember who the interview was with, but somebody said that anybody who's a millionaire has gotten to that point by having a minimum of 6 avenues of money. And although my immediate goal isn't to make money doing this,
yeah,
it stuck with me from a creative process. If I sit down and I only play guitar all day every day, I eventually hit some form of writer's block. If I sit down and I try and come up with gaming content every day and only use one avenue, I hit some type of block. It can, whether it's discouraging or just becomes stale. Looking for new creative outlets, I think, is really important to being a good creator, and I think that it's necessary in order to be successful in doing so. So, I think that's probably why for me, like, this was a very welcomed idea, and
yeah,
the idea of starting a podcast has been something that some of the guys that are actually in the channel right now tossed around some back and forth ideas about, but never actually followed through on it. So
yeah.
having somebody who was ready to do it alongside me, that I think it's fantastic. And I think at some point, like some of the people who have tossed some ideas up before, maybe they'll step forward again and give us some more content to lean on.
Yeah, well, I would actually like to see that.
Same. For Emily said, if you have multiple creative outlets, it can help keep you fresh. Corey Williams does that. I don't know if you know who Corey Williams is, but Corey Williams is the longest running professional YouTuber. He was one of the first professional YouTubers, and he's now the longest running one. Or was he the first professional YouTuber for Emily? He does stand-up comedy, but he has his own film company. They do like smaller stuff. He has his own film company, and I think he's made probably 4 or 5 different YouTube channels with varying levels of content. He was the first.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
that's impressive.
yeah, so not surprising. Great minds and all that,
This is a little late. I just saw this right now, but Faramli says I couldn't imagine doing that. I'm way too shy for that. I'm assuming she's referring to me DJing in front of 100+ people.
That is exactly what I'm sure she's referring to.
Yeah, it's very frightening, but after you do it over and over again, it gets very repetitive, and you get comfortable with the whole process of a wedding reception. It just becomes second nature at that point. You kind of, at least in my persona, I tried to kind of phase people out and not really pay attention to them and focus more on like music, but it's hard. It just really is hard. You can't really do it, but I tried and I succeeded somehow. But yeah, that's my short story of that.
So for Emily, actually makes content on YouTube as well, and she is very shy, but I remember when she first started making her videos, she would struggle with it and have to do multiple takes to get her words out, which, I mean, words are hard. But now the content comes out much easier for her. And now I see her, like just doing her normal everyday stuff and realizing that she could capture to make content. And I think it's pretty similar for you. Your normal everyday stuff is DJing, and then you put yourself out in a different venue. And when you're able to zone out, put your headphones on and do what you do, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how you actually get on the mic and MC the events, though. That's where I would start faltering.
Yeah. Well, like I said, when I first started doing that, I did MC. I was pretty bad at it. Not gonna lie. But like I said, after doing it over and over and over again, I kind of create like these scenes in my head. Okay, this is what's gonna happen at this time, and this is what I'm gonna say. And every wedding's pretty much the same, unless you're doing like different cultures that you're working with.
Right.
Which the only two I've only dealt with is, you know, an American wedding and a Mexican wedding, and that's it. I won't do any other weddings because I just don't know the culture. I have been offered like East Indian weddings, but
that would be interesting.
I turn them down, dude. I don't feel comfortable enough to. Their weddings are crazy, man. I don't know if you've seen the stuff they do, but
I have.
Dude, I know I can't do that, and I don't know the language. So if somebody comes up to me and like, "Oh, can you play, you know, X song?" I don't know what the heck they're talking about. I can barely understand what they're saying. So yeah,
You know, I think that's the right call though. You know, when you're stepping into something that's unfamiliar, it can be scary. And when you're stepping into something that's unfamiliar and it's a fucking person's wedding, no, thank you, no, thank you.
It's suicide.
Yeah, it
Straight
sounds like
suicide.
All right, man. Well,
should we wrap
I'm sure
this
we
up
could
then?
keep going, but I think we should. I'm ready to get in and start gaming.
Likewise. Hopefully we get some dubs today.
So when should we expect to do this again?
So for those of you that are not watching us live, we do stream on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The link will be in the description.
For those of you that aren't in Cali, that's 8:30 Central Time.
Correct.
And if you're not in Central, well then you could do the math and figure it out.
There you go. Yeah, but that's where you can find us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on that notification bell.